The pattern library command is probably one of the most important tools that you need to learn how to use. And there are three different ways to get to it. First of all, you'll notice right now in the main toolbar here that it's grayed out, and if I click on it, nothing happens. That's because you need a defined area in the picture and it needs to be selected. I have this driveway here defined. I'll click on it, and now you'll notice that the pattern library icon is highlighted. You can now access it by clicking on this icon. The second way to get to it, again, you need a defined area and it needs to be selected. Go up to the main menu, click on Area, and then click on GreenScapes Library. This will bring up the menu also. Now the third way to get to it is when you are drawing your defined area. You see I'm drawing in the progress of drawing, and I can edit this area. So you've just finished drawing it. You filled it in so it turns gray. Then you click on GreenScapes Library. This is a shortcut that will bring you right to it, because many times you'll define an area, then you need to put something into it. It just brings you right to this menu. Now there are actually two portions or two parts to the pattern library tool. There's the toolbar, and this is all the commands and it's got all the action in it, and then there are the libraries, and this is the library menu here. Now this menu can be moved anywhere on the screen by clicking in this bar and dragging it to a new location. It can be sized and resized by going to the edge and clicking and dragging it and sizing it to the size you want. Now if I close it and I go to Show Library, it comes back in the size and the place that I put it. So a lot of times you have a bigger screen than I'm working on now. You could just put it alongside the screen so it's not in your way. When you want to put something into the defined area, all you have to do is double click on this library and it places that texture into the defined area. And keep in mind, you can close the library thumbnails anytime you want by clicking the red X in the upper right hand corner, or you can minimize it by clicking on the minimize button and it goes to the bottom of your screen. To bring it back, just click on Show Library and it pops right back where it was. Now let's talk about the library tools. First of all, you can also minimize this by clicking on the minimize button. You'll see that it just folds up into a little box to get it out of your way. To bring it back, you click on the restore button here. And again, to move it, you click on this bar and drag it to the new location that you want. Now you can't size this one to different sizes. It's either all the way open or all the way closed. Now this menu was designed to start from the left and work your way over to the right. So over here on the left we have the features to sort the texture library. Now there are many thousands of textures in this library. Actually I think there's about 3,000. So sorting through it can be pretty much daunting, to say the least, but you can sort through it by different attributes over here. Now keep in mind, this is a sort, it's not a search. For example, let's say you have a particular manufacturer that you want to use. So let's say we want to use Techoblock. So we'll go down here to the T's and we find Techoblock, we click on it, and now my library here is only showing Techoblock products. I'm not going to see Belgard or Unilock or anything else because I've selected Techoblock. Now if I go back and do another search in product, and let's just pick something random here that I know is not in Techoblock, the 712 pavers, it'll say this combination is not available. That's because I picked a product that does not exist in the manufacturer Techoblock. So when you get this, you know you've done something wrong. You got to go back in and select something else. Now as you see, I could sort through here and pick probably 10 or 15 of these and still not get a Techoblock product, because you're kind of working in reverse. So to reset these settings over here, you click reset and you see that they all go back to all. So if I go here to product and I want to see those 712 pavers, if I click on it, those are the pavers now that are showing. So you could go by product first if you know the name of the product you want to use. Also, in something like Belgard, there are 12 different manufacturers. They all have some of the same products, so you're going to see 12 different manufacturers, let's say of Arbel. Now we've got our bell here, but you can see there's all kinds of different colors. I can tell you right now that there's not one manufacturer that makes all these colors. But again, if you're looking for Arbel stone, you can see all of them in a couple clicks. You can also sort by pattern. If I want to see, just say all the Arbels, it's going to bring that up again. But you'll notice it won't have the soldier course down here at the bottom like the last one did. And if we go in here and search, say, basket weave, this is a pattern that's used probably by every manufacturer. But if it's not important to you which manufacturer you're using, you can see by going in here to basket weave, you have several options. When you click on one of these patterns, it will tell you which manufacturers. This one is Belcon, which is a Belgard manufacturer. Now the fourth option here is sorting by color. If I minimize this, you'll see that this house is basically gray, light gray, and a very dark blue gray. So if I want to find all the pavers that are in the gray zone, we'll go over here to the G's, and you'll see that I have the option here called gray. So I'm going to click on that, and as you can see, I now have many different products in many different manufacturers. It's not going to specify which manufacturer it is. So if you wanted something in gray, and let's say you wanted to use a Belgard product, we'll just go here to the first Belgard, and we don't have that combination. Ackerstone, no grays. Let's go down to Airville, and now we got quite a few grays. And again, just pick one, you just double click it, and it places it in the image. So that pretty much covers the sorting features here. Again, to recap, you have 4 ways to sort. You can sort by product, you can sort by the pattern, you can sort by a color, or you can sort by a manufacturer. Also, once you find something that you want to use, for example, let's say I'm going to use anchor block here, and let's just reset that and go to anchor block. And I want to only see anchor block while I'm working in this project, click Save as Default. So once you've done that, and we'll leave the menu, we come back in, anchor block will automatically be chosen so that you don't have to go through finding it and saving it there. So I did skip ahead with the Save as Default, but it's pretty important to do that once you found the manufacturer that you like to use. Now, if you only use one manufacturer, it makes it real simple. Find it and then click Save as Default, and you don't have to go looking for it ever again. Okay, so now I've got the pavers on the driveway. Your next step moving across the menu is to adjust the perspective. There are 3 choices here: free, walls, and paving. 80% of the time you're going to be using paving if you're doing paving. And I say 80 because it's never 100%. But let's show you how the perspective works. You see these silver-like circles here at the corners of this rectangle. The rectangle is around the defined area that I drew here. I want to change the perspective. I have to change both sides, the left and the right. So I'm going to click on this perspective handle, and I'm going to move it around. So you can see that that line between this point and this point down here, it moves with my mouse when I'm clicking and dragging. So you can see I'm now changing the direction of these pavers. They will follow this line. So I'm going to bring this one up to the edge of the driveway here, and then I need to do it on the other side. So I'm going to grab this one, bring it over to the edge here, and then bring this one down to the edge of the driveway here. And as you can see, the pavers now have the correct perspective on them. Then I would go here to scale. Taking this slider and sliding it to the right makes the pavers larger. Sliding it to the left makes them smaller. So you want to get them to the scale that looks good to you. If you don't know what their scale is, well, you probably shouldn't be installing them. So basically, that's about right to my eye. So I'm basically could be done here. So I would click OK to exit the menu. Now, one more thing on scale. You'll notice that it has 0.25. That's the size of these pavers right now. So let's say I want to get back to this, so I just remember 0.25, and then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to mess around with the scale, and I go, nah, you know, I liked it back where it was at 0.25, so I'll just highlight the number here, type in 0.25 and click apply, and it goes back to that exact scale that I had this paver. Now it's going to be different on every paver, so it doesn't mean that 0.25 is the magic number on this particular house, only with this particular paver, because every paver is a little bit different, as you know. Now I'd like to go back to the perspective handles again because they are very important. So you notice I had it set to paving. I'm going to click on walls and watch what happens. These perspective handles became even with each other because with walls the left and the right handles are joined together, and let me show you what I'm talking about. If I click this one here, you'll notice the one below it moves with it. This works great with walls. It doesn't work too good with pavers. So if I'm trying to line this up with pavers using the walls feature here, it's not going to ever work. I'll never be able to do it. The other option is free. Free will free up the handles so that they are not connected. Now you notice I could grab this one handle and nothing else moved with it. So everything is free and independent. So I'm going to click back on walls, I'm going to click back on paving, and as you can see it brought it back to no perspective. And I didn't explain this earlier with paving because paving connects the handles that are on the top and the bottom. So you see when I'm moving the one over on the right, the one on the left moved. If I move this one on the left, the one on the right is moving. And it works real quick for doing a driveway like this because those handles will be connected. You could just tweak them in there the way you want. And if you want to do fine tuning, then you'd click on free up the handles, and you could get it exactly the way you want. Now I'm going to go into perspective again in more samples, but you need to know this in the beginning. So I'm going to recap. Free, the handles are freed up. You can move them independently. Walls, the handles are attached on the ends, and this is great for doing retaining walls or fences and stuff like that. And then paving will connect the handles on the top and bottom, which usually gets you in the ballpark pretty close, and then you could adjust them with free if you need to. Now the From File command will allow you to select any file that's on your hard drive or external drive, USB drive, doesn't really matter, and then place it into the defined area. So if it's not in the main library or the secondary library, but you have a file somewhere on your computer, all you have to do is click on From File, find the file by navigating through your folders and stuff, double click on the file, and it will place it into this area. Of course you would need to adjust the perspective, etc. Now keep in mind, if you're just grabbing a random texture and it's not seamless, it may not look correctly, because you could put anything in a defined area, but whether it's seamless or not is another story. Now let's go down here to the secondary library. First of all, you need to get the concept that there are actually two libraries in the pattern library. There's the library here that you could sort through by product, pattern, color, and manufacturer. Then there's the secondary library, which are libraries that you could create and add to the program yourself. So if you click on this pull down menu, you have your list of all the secondary libraries in the program. Yours may or may not look like mine because I've customized my program. For example, let's say you want to use cultured stone. If we click on that, you'll see that the library comes up of cultured stone. If I double click on one of those, it places it in my defined area. So this is where you're going to find, say, grass and mulch. We'll go to artificial grass first. I'll pick on grass, and I've placed grass in the driveway. If you go down here and just type in GR, it brings you down to grass and mulch, and you'll see you have the library of different grasses and different mulches. Again, to select one, you just double click it and it places it in that defined area. So when you are making a library yourself, by making a texture library up here under library, new library, and you click on texture library and give it a name, it's going to appear under your texture libraries, and everything here in the texture library is the secondary library. So if you go back in here, you'll see that I have quite a few secondary libraries in here. So let's say I wanted some decorative concrete. If I go here to a large random stone, Again, I could click on one of those, it places it in there. Another thing you'll note that secondary library doesn't name manufacturer, color, product, and pattern. You'll see it's blank here. Whereas if I go to the main library and select something, it gives me the manufacturer, in this case anchor block, the color, which is Fieldstone, the product, which is Alton, and then the pattern, which is a random 4-piece. So when you don't see a name here, that's because it's a secondary library. This is pulled from the database that this sorts with. These do not have a database to sort with. They are just libraries pointing to the textures that you've created or have been given to you in the program. So hopefully that makes sense. Now we're going to move on to naming the objects that are on the screen, or the defined areas I should say. Right now it's manufacturer, like I said, anchor block, Fieldstone. If I want to place this name on the image, all I have to do is click on Stamp It, and you'll see that that name came up. You can see it's anchor block, it's Fieldstone, it's Alton, and it's random 4-piece. I can move this name anywhere on the screen by exiting the menu and then clicking and dragging that name. So if you want to label what you've placed in the image, that's a quick and easy way to do it. And of course you can edit this text by right clicking on it. You'll have the text here, and let's say we don't want to say it's a random 4-piece. We'll just take that off, click OK, and you can see it edited that text. Again, if you want to change the font or anything, you go in here to font, and let's say we want to make it black. We'll go here to color, click OK again, and now the font changed to black. So you can edit the name that the program gives you. You can do whatever you want. You can just totally type something in too. And if you want to get rid of it, just press delete on the keyboard, because it is an object. I also didn't mention that you could switch between the main library and the secondary library by clicking on Show Library. Right now I'm showing the main library. If I want to change this library to the secondary, I click Show Library, and you can see it switched out to the wood texture. If I want to go back to pavers, I click Show Library, and this will be whatever I set it to be here. It'll show that library. You can also save the secondary library. For example, let's say you always want grass and mulch to be set in here. You click Save as Default. So now we have anchor block, grass and mulch will always come up. When I come back into the pattern library, I have anchor block and grass and mulch. So as soon as I click on Show Library, I have access to my grass, saving you a couple steps in a few seconds. Well, we've covered just about everything. I'm going to reset one more time, because the way this works is if you have a bunch of settings set over here and you're sorting things and you just want to start all over, set everything to all, again you click reset and it puts everything back at all. When you are done and you like what you've done with the pattern and the perspective, you're ready to move on, you would just simply click OK. Cancel pretty much does the same thing, because you're in the process of doing something and you click cancel. It's like clicking OK. It doesn't really matter which one you use. Now we're going to give you more samples from now on how to do walls and other different perspectives.